a knock on the door and the night begins. Cause we've done this before, so you come on in. Make yourself at my home, tell me where you been. Pour yourself something cold, baby, cheers to this. Sometimes you gotta stay in, and you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay in. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Morning comes and you know that you wanna stay. Close the blinds, let's pretend that the time has changed. Keep our clothes on the floor, open up champagne. Let's continue tonight, come on, celebrate. That's how we do. Sometimes you gotta stay in, and you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay in. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my duck off the crib, the spot, the pad. But my house is your house if you throwing it back. Excuse me if my home draining the sand. Soon as these happy faces land, you can run with the cash. Home run, slam dunk, touchdown pass. Mi casa es tu casa, so it ain't no holding back. Another shot of vodka, you know what's in my glass. It's my house, just relax. Welcome to my house, baby, take control now. We can't even slow down. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house, play that music too loud. Show me what you do now. We don't have to go a while. Welcome to my house.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another amazing hour from our June series. We are doing all things career development and job search. And please do drop us a note in the comments. We want to see where in the world you're connecting from, either now or as you will go and enjoy the recording. My name is Minola. I will be your host for the next 1 hour. We have Jessa taking care of us backstage. We have an amazing lineup of speakers. And as I will ask Jessa to help me bring them on stage, I will just take a deep breath and read the amazingly long and generous title of our panel today. So here we go. The Power of Resilience, Overcoming Setbacks and Rejection, Managing Stress and Anxiety, Staying Focused and Disciplined, and Caring for Your Mental Health During Your Job Search. I feel like we are doing a short series of separate conversations jammed today, but otherwise no pressure. And you are all friends of Hacking HR. You are all veterans of our panel conversations, and we are so grateful and happy that you took the time and the generosity of your insights to be here today. So let's make the most out of our short time today. You know the drill. I will pass the e-mic around as you are on the screen clockwise. That means, Garima, you will go first. And just a quick ask, shortly introduce yourselves. And also, let's ease into the topic. Why is resilience and the topic of resilience meaningful to you? So meaningful that you decided to be here on a Friday. Welcome, Garima.
Thank you, Minola. It's a pleasure, like every time, to come on the Hacking HR panel and meet with so many fabulous people and learn from them while being on the panel. So appreciate Hacking HR for having me over here. My name is Garima Gupta. I'm based here in the DC, Maryland area. I'm an HR professional. I work at the intersection of HR and DEI. And I am in the moment trying to be a solopreneur in the HR DEI world, kind of in the midst of starting my own consulting gig. And this topic is very near and dear to me because, like many of you who are looking for your next adventure or may have affected by a layoff or, for whatever reason you're in the market, this is real for me. I've been experiencing it. I've been testing out the waters, and I know what you're feeling. So anything that I share today are based on my own real experiences, not based on a book that I've read, but this is real for me. And I'm going to share what has worked for me and also moments where I've failed miserably in following all of the things that I know about a job search and resiliency and all of those. And I know that resilience plays a very big role in keeping afloat in these times when when it's very easy to feel rejected and feel that, hey, where is that resilience that I need at the moment?
Thank you so much, Garima. And just so you know, this promise of future sharing made it on a mental post-it, so I will come collect on your offer. Jamie, welcome. Good to see you.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Manola, for having me here today. My name is Jamie Conrad. I'm a Senior Director of People at Trust Radius. We're a business technology decision-making platform. So if you're trying to figure out the best technology to purchase for your business, we help with that. I have been in HR for a long time, and I'm very passionate about progressing our profession forward. And this is one aspect of that. And it's hard sometimes when you're in the job hunt, regardless of your reasoning behind it, to feel like you're in it and you're making a difference and you're doing the right things if you're experiencing some setbacks. But I really do see it as an opportunity to continue to push our profession forward individually. And so helping others to find the grit to overcome and that toughness within them to overcome some of those setbacks and some of the stress and stay positive and focused, I think is really important. So I'm happy to be here today to talk about that.
Thank you. Jen, good to see you. Welcome.
Thanks, Manola. It's great to be here. Good morning, everyone. I am the Director of Human Resources for the Arizona Alliance for Community Health Centers here in Phoenix, Arizona. And resilience is such a near and dear topic to my heart, being both an HR professional, which we all know has been especially challenging over the last few years, but also in the healthcare industry that's had its own challenges with workforce, and resilience is just such a key part of that, of ensuring that we continue to have a workforce for this very vital part of our civilization. So very interested to talk to you all, very excited to share my experiences with resilience in this field.
Thank you. Paco, always a joy to see you.
Likewise, thank you all, and happy to be with all of you on this Friday. Paco Farias, I'm calling in from Houston, and I've been on the people spectrum for the past 23 years or so. And this topic is near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. But, as Garima was saying, I am experiencing it today. So what I was going to say is, it was fascinating because I had been employed on a continuous run for 23 years, no breaks, no nothing. And then, life gave me a break in December. And my father passed as well, and while losing a job. So that was quite a double whammy, as they say here in the US. And so I had to go and reach out and find different ways to stay afloat, So it's been very interesting because in the past, I had been on the other side, either on layoffs or whatever that is, right? Or hiring and observing those dynamics. But until you're there, something changes in your brain. And then your empathy just goes to a different level. So I'm very passionate about this subject, and hopefully we can all at least take one thing and one takeaway to continue to build resilience in the workplace.
Thank you. And last but not least, welcome, Sandy. Good to have you in this lineup.
Hi, nice to see you. And thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. So, my name is Cindy, and I've been doing HR for 20 some years. And pretty much, I mean, I think Garima, Paco, and Jamie and Jen pretty much said it all. We're here just we've been through it or we're going through it at the current time, and everything's just coming from that place of let me share what not to do so that you don't end up in the same situations or in the same frustrations that we did. So that's the place of where I come from, just wanting to help out with um, eliminating some of that frustrations.
Mm. Thank you all so very much. And like I said, always a joy and such a privilege to welcome you on my screen from Switzerland. I see that we have a truly worldwide audience, and that always warms our heart. Well, warms, I'm not sure it's the best choice of words with the heat wave here in Switzerland, but it's always so good to see people from all over. And actually, this brings me to the request for help from our audience. We've seen that whatever topic we cover in the conversation, it has so many rich nuances across cultures and across geographies. So please consider the chat also your own space of conversation and drop us comments, not just now, but if you go to hackinghrlab.io for the recording later on, continue to drop your comments and your thoughts and your ideas in the chat. We always go back and check for new gems from people who watch us and listen to us. So listening to you, I was reminded of one of the best definitions of resilience I heard in a Hacking HR panel about 2 years ago. And it said that resilience is not so much about bouncing back as it is about bouncing forward. And that stayed with me. Those of you who know me, you know that everything goes on a Post-it. So there's a Post-it with this definition right here next to my desk. I wanted to ask you a question. Job search and overall everything that we navigate at this moment. Someone that I recently worked with described it VUCA on steroids, and that was so so accurate. I was wondering, we all know the signs when almost they get to a screaming intensity. But what can we do to prepare mentally and emotionally? And what can we do to fine-tune our inner radar to pick up signs when they are warning signs and not, full on everything that we just said in the title? And let's see, Jamie. Jamie, you win the unmuting competition today, please.
I'll kick us off. Well, I think before you get to that point, I do want to focus in on maybe a little bit on how to prepare and how to think about it from the start so that you can maybe avoid getting to that place. Having some, I worked before HR, I was a life coach for a while and helped people with career transitions. And it really boiled down to what they all needed was somebody to help them not worry about the fear, right? The fear of rejection, the fear of failure. And so being that accountability partner and helping them with their goal setting really helped to kind of set the stage so that the mental health and the emotional aspect of the rejections weren't so traumatic or didn't escalate as fast. And so I think having a good plan to start and having some goals, being crystal clear and what you're looking for and how you're going to go about doing that can help to prevent you from getting there. And then also make your mental health a priority in that initial goal setting, right? So that if you do feel like you're running into those, who is your support system? Who are those accountability partners? Who are those people that you can reach out to that you know are going to be there to support you? They're going to help maybe redirect you. They're going to listen and let you cry on their shoulder if you need to. But at the end of the day, they're going to be there to help put you back on the path that you know that you're supposed to be on, and not get mired down in that emotional response. And I think that just helps alleviate some of the fear. So if you put the time in at the beginning, it can help to alleviate some of that fear as you go through it.
Thank you, Jamie. Let's see who wants to build the conversation. Just feel free to jump in. Garima.
Yeah. I think Jamie really set the stage very, very well in terms of, how do you kind of prevent reaching there? But I'll also say that it is great to have those prevention tactics, but if the job search continues for a really long time, you will find that there's a swing that happens, right? You will reach those points when you're feeling all of these things that we are trying to avoid or figure out a way to be resilient. And I think it's also telling yourself that it's okay to be in those spots sometimes, right? Giving yourself permission to feel a little sad because of the multiple rejections that you've seen, or to feel a little that you're not in a good place today. And I think giving yourself a break, that self-compassion, I would say, is the biggest thing you have to keep teaching yourself, right? You will teach it, you will learn it, you will forget it, and you will be back in that spot where you have to teach yourself, or use some of those accountability partners or coaches that Jamie was mentioning, because the fact of the matter is it is hard. It's a full-time job to find another job. And no matter how much you say that it's okay, everybody gets rejected, every rejection still stings, right? Because a lot of us put a lot of effort in every job application, in interviewing 16 times and preparing that thought process, or building that document that they want to see, or building that presentation. So it's telling yourself that it's okay to feel the feelings sometimes, but I think finding yourself a way out of that ultimately, right? And those are all of the suggestions that Jamie is suggesting, that if you know that there's a way out, you've got that friend that you can call and say, I'm in a funk today. Could we go out and have a drink, or have a coffee, or just go for a walk? So I think knowing what is that self-care kit that you have built for yourself, that you can then go to say, okay, I've had the 2 hours, I've had the afternoon where I've done, the wallowing, the whatever, feeling sad for myself and all of those. Now it's time to bring my self-aid kit out and start using some of the tools to be able to get out of there. So for me, that's very real. I'll tell you that those moments happen no matter. I'm on the high, and I've told myself I've done my journaling, I've done my yoga, I've done my run, I've talked to a friend, I've gone out the night before with some friends and, had my laughs, but I still reach there because you put in hopes, right? That this particular thing is going to land up, or I'm going to be here. And then you find yourself not in those spots, or actually you hear nothing, crickets after 16 interviews, and then it hurts. So I think letting it hurt to say, okay, this is real, this is happening. And it happens to a lot of us. I'm not the only one. And I can get out of it because, hey, where's my self-aid kit? I think those things are really real. So use it. Don't feel that you're the only one, you're the worst, or, all of those self-pitying things. Get out of there as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. But okay, give yourself a moment and feel it, because, we all get there.
Thank you. Paco.
Yeah. Funny enough and coincidentally enough, I literally just got a rejection email 45 minutes ago of a role that I was very excited about and everything else. And it is what it is. And so a friend of mine told me something that was very illuminating to me, which was, look, of course, we all feel that we are special. We're the center of the universe. We all believe that the second that we aim for one job, we're going to get that job. But we tend to forget that there's thousands of qualified applicants, and there's thousands of ways of looking at one profile. So it's more like a numbers game in this point. So if you start to think a little bit more analytically, and we'll get back to the emotional point in a second, but just think about it for a second. It's kind of the reverse thing that recruiters do. So when recruiters look at the funnel, right? For us, it's almost this way, where you have to go and just continue to cast a wide net and understand that when they talk to you, it's probably a 10% chance that you're going to get the job, at the beginning. And then the chance starts to go up. But unless you get that offer, it's still out there. So we just need to continue to be a little bit logical on that side. Having said that, the emotion gets in the way. And how to deal with that emotion. We all have different ways. Garima, I love what you said, the yoga, etc. We all have and found different rituals. I'll be honest, I found the ritual of working out. I hated working out for 45 years. I hated it. I did not want to work out. I hated it. But I found a way to do it. And now I work out. And then afterwards, I do a very specific ritual of mindfulness. I do a little bit of meditation. Me doing meditation is very difficult. So I force myself to do a little bit. And I practice a gratefulness ritual. So it reminds me so much of the book The Man in Search of Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I mean, that book has been written almost 70 years ago, and it still shows you that someone that has been facing adversity, and that he faced the ultimate adversity. I mean, they killed his family, like everything. And he still found a way to continue to find that little spot of light to keep going. So you have to find that little spot of light, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just with birds going out there and enjoying them singing to you. Sometimes it's just saying, I'm alive today. Thank you. And I know that sounds, but you have to continue to find different ways to be okay on both sides. Feel it, cry a little bit. It's okay. And find people to talk to, because the other thing that we do not, and I'll shut up after this. The other thing that we do not, I think, understand enough is the impact to our broader close community that this happens. Spouses, partners, friends, pets, anyone that is close to us. If we continue to go this route of closeness, not speaking, no talking, in reality, what ends up happening is they get more and more and more concerned because we're not speaking. So what is that right balance, right? So it's one of those sort of things that we just need to continue to try and iterate on that.
And we'll definitely pick up on this one. And also I sense that there's a lot of energy to talk about, what we found out that has worked for us, and maybe it will give some inspiration and some help to people. So Sandy and Jen, now the competition for the hot seat of going last is between the two of you. Jen, please.
So I think that Garima and Jamie and Paco all make really amazing points. I kind of want to circle back to what Jamie said earlier about having your circle of support. And I think one of the analogies that I've heard that has been really helpful to me is thinking about who your personal board of directors is, and the different roles that those people play for you is a really important technique that I used to improve my resilience when I was in a bad job situation and looking to get out. I also kind of want to touch on the importance of resilience is to keep us clear-eyed and thinking rationally, because I think a lack of resilience or a lack of habits that build resilience can cause us to settle for something that doesn't align with our values or isn't really what we want. And then we're more likely to end up in the same situation in very short time. So it's not just about, getting a job, but sometimes it's about getting the right job for you. I've found also categorizing, listing my values, and then having conversations with those people on my personal board. It's been really helpful to help keep me grounded and keep me aware of what exactly I was looking for, because ultimately you're not your job, you're not your title, but how your values as a person, as an individual, are impacted during both your job hunt and the work that you end up doing is just so important and can have such a long lasting effect on your resilience over a lifespan.
Thank you, Jen. Sandy, bring us home on this one.
So I do think, everybody has made some really good points, and I actually want to touch a little bit more on what Jen said. I am a firm believer of we all have a life path, we all have a life purpose. And so sometimes things don't work out with, oh,
Sandy,
I
so
have bills
so
to pay,
sorry
I
to
have
interrupt
this
you.
to do, I have, this.
Sandy, so sorry to interrupt you. I don't know if it's my connection or your connection, Sandy, but
Did I get cut off?
you're breaking up. Yes. And now we can't hear you at all. Let's continue, and then we will come back and we will get Sandy back into our conversation. I was listening to all of you, and I got curious about one thing. You all mentioned the fact that no matter how mentally and emotionally strong we get on this journey of a job search, ultimately rejections and ghosting and black hole and general life and the pressures, they get to us. So I would like for you to go under the head of an HR professional for just a couple of minutes. What are some of the signs that maybe candidates are not aware or fully aware of that give away on the fact that they are under pressure and that they are, even crossing into being desperate? So, what are some of the call outs that you pick up from your overall interaction with candidates that you want to tell our audience about? Karima.
Yeah, I'll say that a couple of things that come to mind. And as I coach my fellow HR professionals who are also looking for work, is that sometimes I've heard people say that I'm going to do anything for free, like just get me to, I just want to work and I'll do it for free. And I would say, no, that if you don't value yourself, nobody else is going to value what you have to give, and they will probably not even take up your offers. It's a different thing to volunteer because you want to continue to use your skills, use what expertise you've got. But I think it's not okay to offer your expertise for free. The other thing that I often see candidates start doing is that applying for roles which are so below their experience level that any of us who are looking at the resume, we know that this person is going to come in and get very frustrated very quickly because the level of work that they've got and the amount of experience that they bring to the table, this is not well suited. So again, those are sometimes causes for rejection when you're applying for roles which are maybe just an entry level role, whereas you've got a lot of experience. The third thing that often comes to mind is that during the interview process, if you come off as, I don't know, for lack of a better word, desperate, where it's like, just take me, I'm going to do whatever you want. And instead of focusing on what's the job, what's being asked in the job description, and how are you matching what you've read and what you've got to offer, to say, I know this is something that I've not done, but here's how I'm going to do. And I think following some of those very basic principles of interviewing and presenting yourself, if you waver from that too much, where you start, just saying that it doesn't matter, I'll just do it. I think people can read those signs. When you are in a negative place, when you are not feeling confident, believe it or not, even on Zoom, people are able to, smell it. And people are able to see that this person is, in that funk. And so whether you like it or not, when you're going for an interview, you do need to do all of those self-care techniques that you've been learning. Take that moment, take a breath, do your research, because none of those things are, going to change. When I'm interviewing for somebody, I still do want the best possible candidate to land up in that job, because if not, there's a huge cost that the company pays if I take somebody up just for or just because, right? So if this is a two-way process, just as you are trying to learn about the company, keep doing your homework as you should. keep asking the questions, the right questions. And if you see flags that are coming up for you, then take care of those. Don't reach that spot where you ignore the flags and then you take the job and then you learn that, oh, this is not for me, right? Because it's a two-way street, right? And what I have to say is that out of the thousands of applications you're making, you only have to land one job, right? And it's not impossible. Yes, sometimes it takes time, but doing your homework every single time. That's why it's said that finding a job is a full-time gig in itself. It's because you do need that preparation. People on the other side, they can see when you are prepared, when you've got your questions ready, when you've done your homework, when you know about the financials of the company. If you're going for a senior role, do you have your examples ready? It is so good to practice. There's so much advice out there at the moment, even on YouTube or Medium or any of the places that you go to seek, where they even help you out with every behavioral question possible. They help you out with some of those phone screens that recruiters do, which are almost like to a script, right? Every phone screen, 90% of the time, I would say, looks the same, and they are the similar questions. So get your elevator pitch ready. Practice it, practice it, practice it. Nothing takes away practice and preparation, because ultimately that's what's going to land you. And if you have to revisit your resume from time to time, it's a good idea, because you are updating yourself on skills. Keep adding that to your portfolio, because people are seeing how are you. It's one thing to say I'm being resilient. It's another thing to show how are you being resilient, how are you keeping up your skills, how are you increasing your skills repertoire. So I think those are kind of a little bit of the do's and don'ts that I will propose.
Thank you. Jen.
I will share some of my tips for things I look for that show me that maybe a person is getting a little desperate, even though that's not always a bad thing in and of itself. I actually really appreciate when candidates share where they're at. If they say, I'm feeling nervous, or, this has been a long process, and they're a little vulnerable, that can be a good sign. So I wouldn't say, put on an armor that's going to hide who you really are as a person. But for me, not having questions that are really important or meaningful or speak to the purpose of why they want to do the work, especially in the sector that I'm in, is nonprofit healthcare. So I am looking for every single role, top to bottom, for people who want to do this work and work in this industry because of some type of purpose or value. So really, if the questions are just logistics, which I offer lots of opportunities in phone screening and the interview itself, if the questions are just logistical, location, salary, things like that, we can talk about that in the beginning, and you absolutely should make sure those logistic questions get answered. But I would recommend doing it earlier on in the process with the recruiter, and saving the questions for the interview panel that are relevant to, like, why do you want to do this work? How am I a cultural fit? Look for questions that offer you an opportunity to share why you fit in with what they're looking for and the purpose of the work. Ask them what gets you out of bed every morning. Somebody in an interview the other day actually asked us, what our why was. And it was such an awesome opportunity to reflect, but really reflected well on them, that they really care about what the senior leadership in the organization was getting out of bed for. And I think that was a stellar follow-up question. Conversely, I've had people just ask the commute and things like that, and it's such a lost opportunity. So also really agree with Garima on creating your own story and practicing it. I've personally, had a lot of candidates who have come across with just a phenomenal origin stories, and I absolutely love hearing those, but it also does come across as very polished, and it can help to calm nerves to fall back on something that is practiced, that doesn't feel ad-libbed and feels like you've done it. It can be very soothing to the nervous system to do something that's rehearsed. So I definitely recommend it. And, practice on your family, your friends, your personal board. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Well, let's see. Paco.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot from my peers, so I love this, and took a few notes already. There's a couple of things that come to mind. Definitely, on top of what has been said, one of the things that is fascinating to me is why, and I've been just continue to venture through this. Why, if someone is, hired for a company, what happens that person leaves the company, right? And unfortunately, something has been happening, not all companies, etc., but for whatever reason, when you leave a company, that happiness and that fairy tale becomes something very different. And sometimes, it's villainizing. Both the person is like, oh, I hate this company, or why did they let me off? So there's some residual, what I'm getting into is there's some residual feelings that you may have about your either current employment and or past employment that can also be very useful for you as you get into a next one. Because if you don't internalize those things, one thing that may happen is your subconscious may be hindering you for following your gut. And if you really hate a specific part of personality or a type of culture, things like that, and as several of the peers already said, out of desperation, it's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna get the job and then I'll figure it out. Trust me, it's not gonna work, because you're gonna get back there and then it's just gonna go downhill. So it's important for you to do a little bit of a reflection of where are you, where have you been, what are some, and do a little bit of an inventory of what are some of the key experiences, people, personalities, cultures that I've enjoyed the most, and exactly the other side. And that can also help you be prepared as you go through the interview process. You can also ask questions, and you can also be more specific and precise in understanding the things that in the short term could be useful, but in the long term not going to help you. And that's also part of building that resiliency, because it then allows you to start understanding how to set your limits, and if your limits are helping you towards what you want to do and the type of things that are going to make you happier, or the type of companies that are going to introduce so much friction, either location, personality, culture, style, or whatever that is not money or whatever, that is just not going to go where you want to go. So it's important for you to understand a little bit what some of those things have been in the past, that and or present, and they can really help you as well to structure your search in a more powerful way.
Thank you. Welcome back, Sandy. Let's go to Jamie, and this way you have a little bit of extra time to rejoin where we are on the topic, and then we go to you. So Jamie, please.
So one of the key responsibilities I feel like we have in HR is to make sure that we're setting up employees and our businesses for success. And that highly speaks to the mutually beneficial relationship between an employee and an employer. And so when I'm going through interviews, we talked about confidence levels, we talked about doing your homework. I'm looking for those things, and I'm waiting for those questions that show me that they're interviewing me just as much as I'm interviewing them, because it's important to them to work for the organization that represents their values, that they're going to align with, and it's going to make it easier if they're lacking in skills, that you can train for those skills when the culture fit is right, or when you've got some of those alignments that are there that show in the interview process that it's important for both parties to be finding that mutually beneficial relationship. And so whether it's confidence, whether it's homework, whether it's, your list of questions, that preparation work that you do, if you start to deviate away from that, or if it's evident that you're not putting in that time as a candidate, then, we're going to start to pick up on that. As Garima said, we start to smell it a little bit, unfortunately. And we're looking for reasons, especially in telephone screenings, to say no to a candidate, right? We're looking for those red flags to say no. And so we want to make sure we're avoiding those. So if you can get through the telephone screening and you've got that preparation done, so that you're looking for that beneficial relationship, and we see it's just as important to you as it is to us, then that's going to be a higher likelihood that you'll get moved forward in the process, which then, as Paco indicated earlier, increases your likelihood that you can land the job in the future.
Hi, everyone. So sorry about that. Much better? Yay.
Thank you for the troubleshooting. It's perfect.
Sorry. So to Jamie's point, I mean, asking all those questions and waiting to see if the candidate asks those questions. What I like to do is, if, let's say, for example, I am getting the sense of they don't like a particular type of culture, and that's the culture that we have, I actually share that, because I want to make sure that they understand that if I am going to end up sending a thank you but no thank you letter, that they understand that it wasn't them, that it was because I saw that it wasn't in alignment in the sense of whether it was culture or it just things that they didn't like that I knew that we had in our environment. So this way, and sometimes I am very blunt if I see that a candidate's, just like super excited and just really hopeful. I do share and I do say like, hey, this is probably not going to work for these reasons. So that this way they don't feel that it's, that it's about them, that it's more of just, it's not in alignment. I do believe that everybody has a life purpose, and, in that we are placed in certain paths for a reason. And sometimes those rejections are actually steering us away from the wrong path. And so sometimes, like right now, I am in the market. And so, just like, Paco is. And so I am looking for, and I'm being more selective because I want to make sure that I am in alignment with my purpose. And so, just making sure that you kind of stay within that path, and that you don't sacrifice, that you don't, eliminate some of those boundaries or some of those expectations of what you were looking for in the next role. To me, that's super key. So just making sure that, in that same token, because we are HR professionals, that we give that same courtesy to those candidates that we would want for ourselves, I think is.
Thank you all so very much. And if you can believe it, we're already 10 minutes into the second half of our conversation. And I do want to start a petition for Hacking HR Hours to have more than 60 minutes. So I might need your help. I will take a few seconds just to welcome all the wonderful people who have joined us a little bit later. And I did promise to come back and collect some of the awesome conversation hooks that you dropped very early on. So I would really want to harness your energy to talk about practical tips and tricks. We mentioned meditation, we mentioned self-care, we mentioned, I think we even started to touch a little bit on nutrition. So I would really invite you to share some of these practical habits or behaviors or whatever it is that has worked for you in the past with a small spin. What I noticed in almost all the conversations, and I would like to be the first one to raise my hand and plead just as guilty as the next person, that oftentimes our sense of self and self-validation and identity is intrinsically tied to our role, to our work, to what we do. So how can we stay mindful of the fact that what we do is a great source of who we are, is a great expression of who we are, but that's not our whole identity and that's not our whole self. So how can we do this?
When you're in the job search, there's more to life than job searching, right? It's a full-time role. You have to be dedicated to it. You need to be focused on that funnel of, it's a numbers game, and take some sales courses maybe to help you with that. But that's not what it's all about, right? And to be in the job hunt can be draining. It can be a hit on your emotional self sometimes if those rejections are coming in faster than you want them to. But that doesn't reflect who you are. And so make sure that you take the time. When we talk about work-life balance, when you're looking for a job, that's your work, there's still an importance to the family time, the meditation, the exercise, all those things that bring you joy in your life anyway, and making that just as much of a priority when you're job searching as when you're not. And I think that can help. The other thing I would say is, if you do have challenges with that, and you tend to lean towards your profession representing yourself and who you are, then do some of those things that are possible within your profession that bring you that joy. For instance, if you're an HR professional in the job hunt, and it inspires you to help others, be on calls like this and help others, right? Share your knowledge, take on a mentee, or find a mentor, teach some classes, do some volunteer work with your local SHRM chapters, or, some of those types of things. There are other ways that you can express yourself through your profession, that it also helps with your networking. And I know we've had some really good Hacking HR conversations about that. But that can also help you feel fulfilled in your profession while you're still going through your job search.
Thank you, Jamie. Garima, I see you unmuted.
Yeah. Well, Jamie said some of the things I would have loved to say, but one of the things I'm going to pick up is what Paco said earlier about having that, meaning, right? Not only do we associate sometimes our role with our identity, but oftentimes we find meaning in our work, right? We do our work because of. Some of us have been in HR for 20 years and so on and so forth. It's because that work has given meaning to our work, right? That's our way of contributing to the society, to the community, whatever. So I do think one of the biggest things I would say has helped me is finding that purpose, which is beyond the job that you are doing, and finding a way that you work towards that purpose. Because then when you are doing that, the rejections, whatever else is coming your way, you can dust yourself up and continue to work towards that purpose. Now, purpose for different people can mean different things, can come in different ways. And in reaching that purpose, you have to set up smaller goals, right? Because purpose can be this really big thing that you're working towards. You're not going to achieve it in one day, in 1 week, or maybe even a month or a year, but that's a thing that you are working towards. But in between setting up those small goals, right? I do something that I'm going to talk to a new person every single day, barring the weekend. And that's just my way of getting to know more people, right? Whether it is through a Slack chat, whether it is through, Hacking HR, or whether it's through LinkedIn, I am going to reach out to a new person in whatever that might be, right? I write a gratitude journal, because that helps me realize, what do I have, right? Because it's so easy to continue to feel, oh my God, look at others, they've got the job, they've got this, whereas I don't. What do I have, right? At the end of the day, always reminding myself, what do I have? That doesn't matter whether I have a job or not, those things remain with me. I think the third thing that I would say is, no matter where you are, whether you are in a job, you are in the process of finding a job, whether you are about to get a job, whatever that thing might be, build yourself new skills. Because while people can take away a job from you, they cannot take away the skills that you develop. They are yours to keep, they are yours to build. We are already in a skills economy, right? More and more of us need to continue to build the skills. Chat GPT is here. The way you work may change soon, right? And more AI and large language learning models are coming on. And so your job is going to shift even if you have one. How do you build your skills? What can you do to build that skill? And the skill building need not always be in the realm of your job, right? If you're an HR professional, it always doesn't. Build your skill as a human. You don't know what will come useful in the skills that you're building, right? Or if you like to take a dance class, but you haven't been able to because your work, your commute, your whatever is stopping you, hey, now is the chance, right? Don't put it off. We always think, oh my God, when I'm not busy, I'm going to do this. But when it comes, when you are not as busy and running like a headless chook, Are you doing something about it? So it's time to have that conversation with yourself to say, what is that one thing that I've had on my wish list that I've been putting off? Maybe it's a 1 week travel away. You don't need to feel guilty about it. If you have the resources to be able to do it, then do it now. There will be no good time to ever do it. We are finally able to travel. We're finally able to, do things. We hopefully are not wearing masks after I don't know, in DC, we were wearing masks yesterday due to the Canadian wildfires and the haziness and the smoke. But utilize that time, right? So don't just feel that you have to be in front of a screen, always doing interviews or always applying for roles. What is that thing that you've been putting off? Do that, because when you come back refreshed, your ability to fight this battle becomes 10 times more, and you appear differently, right? We were talking about the feelings, we're talking about how do we appear as if we are ready to take on that big role that we've applied for. It is by doing those things in the personal realm. It is not like build a list and just tick them off. It's doing that thing that you've already built, that list that you've been wanting to. Go ahead and do it. You have permission. Give yourself permission. Nobody is going to come and give you that permission. There's no boss. There's no company. You got it. You're the boss. Go give yourself permission and do that thing, because once you do that, it allows you to be
Thank
better.
you, Garima, for this very energizing call to action to upskill ourselves. Jen, Paco, Sandy, what would you like to add to this wonderful part of the conversation? Let's see. Jen, please.
So many wonderful points already made, but I think during times where it's felt like a struggle to manage my resilience, where jobs have been difficult or I've been in the job search, I think that focusing on the relationships that I have and fostering those and the roles that I play. I know this has already been said, but as a mother, as a wife, as a obsessed pet owner, really focusing on those relationships and how they make me feel, and being just so grateful to have them, and just being grateful, like Garima said earlier, for what I do have, and pouring myself into other areas. I do think we can get fatigued focusing on one thing for too long. We're not built to do that. We're built to constantly change focus, and just being gentle with ourselves, giving ourselves grace, and allowing ourselves to enjoy some things, because job hunting isn't fun. I don't think anybody enjoys doing it. So I think wonderful points all around. But for me, it's always been really connections and relationships, and making sure that the people I have around me feel cared for, and I'm doing my best to invest in that role as well.
Thank you, Jen. Paco.
Someone told me a few weeks back that you need to be speaking to like 100 people per month, particularly when you're in a situation like this. And I'm like, that sounds very, very overwhelming, right? 100 is a big number. Well, then, of course, you can start breaking it down by week and by day, and it's not that big of a number. It's just that we're not used to those things. What I'm heading into, though, is the combination of talking to people. One thing is with the purpose of finding a job, but as several of my colleagues have been saying, the other part, though, it could be human connection, and you never know, because you may share affinities, you may share other things, and boom, something new just appeared from nowhere, in terms of reconnecting with communities that you forgot that existed, or doing some social work, or doing whatever that is. As all of you have said, even participating in these panels, it's, at least for me, it's very energizing, because it allows to provide help with others, to others, learn from others, which is part of my existential purpose. And I remember deeply, and hopefully this is not too ominous, but I'm taking it with a positive spin, but every time that someone came to me or comes to me and asks me, I'm having duress, I hate my manager, I don't like what I'm doing, I always ask them, or, I'm working 100-hour weeks or whatever that is. I ask them, okay, so in your grave, what is going to be the 3 or 4 things that are going to happen, that are going to be put there? Beloved employee of company X, or beloved father, beloved son, beloved friend, beloved member of the community. And, it should be the latter, right? So that workism that we all have been kind of combating also tells us look at the stories of how many people, when they retire, they become depressed, and a lot of people just die because of not knowing what to do next. So it's good for us. Again, that sounds ominous, but giving it the positive spin. So I don't want us to go on an ominous path this weekend. It's more about today we have a very unique opportunity. Look at your calendar. Then, as easy as this, here's a specific practical tip. Someone said it, and I've been trying to do it as much as I can. Look at your calendar of the next month, and look at the amount of time that you're putting to take care of yourself, others, or the type of things that are helping you to get closer to your existential purpose. And you will be very surprised, because most of the times our calendars dominate us. We do not dominate our calendars. And then, if we could put Netflix watching or whatever that is, all of those things that are just wasting our time, it's just fascinating how life just goes by. So be a little bit more intentional. Try to get a little bit brainstorming here and say, okay, what one thing I can do this weekend or next week to get me a little bit out of this workism and help me a little bit towards building community, helping others, helping myself, whatever that is, and just go and do one small thing next week. That's not that difficult, right?
Thank you, Paco. Sandy.
I know we're short on time, but so I'm just pretty much, Garima, Jamie, Jen, and Paco have really pretty much summed it all up, and I don't think I can really add much. I really like what Garima was saying, just all of the good points that she made throughout the whole thing. And so I think I'll just leave it to you, and so that you can go ahead and ask us the questions, since we're short on time.
Thank you so very much, Sandy. So there was something that we mentioned very early on, and then it popped up in different ways throughout the conversation. Sometimes we are a closed one or a loved one to someone going through job search. So I would really want to take the few 6 remaining minutes, and they feel so short, to really talk about how can we be there for a loved one who goes through a job search. And I will put on the table a question that I learned about 8 years ago from my then line manager. Whenever I walked into her office, the question she would ask me was, do you need to vent, or are you looking for a solution? And I've been using that at work. I've been using that outside of work. And it helped me help people in the ways that they needed to be helped, not in the ways that I had help readily available and time tested. So in the interest of time, what I will do, I will pass the e-mic around counterclockwise. So Sandy, you will go first this time. And, how can we be there for loved ones going through job search?
Be supportive. Be supportive in whatever way they need, whether, like you said, it's to vent, to find a solution. And if they're looking for a solution, help them with introducing them to people that you might know. Help them network. Send out their resume, because you will know of someone, even if it's I know of someone, and if I don't know someone, they will know someone that knows someone, type of theory, and so just helping them get their resume out. As HR professionals, we have those skills to even help with reviewing their resume, with reviewing, their cover letters, or helping them even kind of target certain industries based on what they already have, their experiences. And I think one good thing would be, if you see that they're going through that little rabbit hole, help them get out of that rabbit hole. And in our industry or what we do, we know people very, very well, and so we would know kind of what they need when they need it. So whether it's, like Manola said, she loves post-it notes. I'm big on post-it notes too. So putting those post-it notes as, in their rooms or in their car or whatever it is, where they will always have those little reminders of how special and how good of a person they are, and that they just need to keep fighting just a little bit longer, in that sense of, just pushing through, and just, not giving up the hope of being able to land the right job for them.
Thank you so very much, Sandy. Paco, what's your mic drop punchline helping loved ones?
Well, here's the one, and this happens with my wife all the time. We are so used to giving everyone advice all the time that at least it happens to me. I want to jump so fast into action and telling you, you have to do A, B, C. And sometimes people, the only thing they need is just someone that is listening, actively listening, because you are showing in full body support, you're there, and then of course you can go into action. But sometimes people are just not in the space of getting 2,000 action items and getting there. So it's interesting as well for us to sometimes just caring is being there and listening. And sometimes it's just saying, okay, I'm here. And sometimes it's, getting through a little bit of some action. So it's just the right balance of call to action and pushing the person to get out of it. But sometimes it's just step one, which is I'm here, I'm with you, I love you, or whatever that is. Let's help you get, to the next step.
Thank you. It sounds a little bit like let's be human beings before we're human doings. Yeah. Jen, your advice.
Cindy and Paco definitely dropped the mic. I think the only thing I would add is my love language is acts of service. And my sister went through this last year. She was impacted by layoffs. And so my go-to is I'm active on LinkedIn. It's something I'm comfortable and familiar with. So while she was grieving, which I think that's super essential if they've been laid off or fired, to give them time to grieve, I asked her for her password. We have that trust relationship. So she gave it to me and I went in and I built connections. I did some work. I let my creativity go to work on hers. And once she was ready to get back in there and start job hunting, she had a head start. Also, just being a compassionate ears just goes a long way. So,
thank you so very much, Jamie.
Yeah, 3 things for me. Watch for those signs if it's somebody close to you, because you're going to know them better sometimes than they know themselves. So watch for those signs. Provide them with opportunities to not be a job seeker. Take them to the movies, take them to something that's meaningful for them, take them out, enjoy a coffee or a cocktail. And then 3, just be their biggest cheerleader. Let them know that no matter what, you're there for them and that you're cheering them on in every way you know how.
Thank you, Jamie. And Garima.
Okay, all I'm going to say is that be kind and lots of hugs. They work for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Garima, Jamie, Jen, Paco, Sandy. It's been an absolute joy. Thank you very much to everyone who took the time and the curiosity to listen and watch our conversation now or later in the recording. I hope I will get the chance to welcome you again on many future conversations. Please do follow us, whether it's on LinkedIn on our page or hackinghrlab.io. Many good things cooking for July and beyond. Thank you. Enjoy a wonderful weekend. Enjoy whatever rest of the day you have left on your time zones, and be kind to yourselves and just spread those hugs. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.